I watched this video is gonna have to be about 27 minutes or under. That's fine. Hopefully, I can pull that off. So, um, the Matrix is so real, bro. And it's not exactly like the movie. It's a lot more subtle, you know. But so I was watching. My whole Patreon is devoted on it. It's devoted to exposing how their little matrix works. So if you're interested in that, go to my Patreon. I'm gonna try not to push my Patreon the whole video, but it is tempting. So I was watching a video. It was yesterday morning, and there's these YouTube channels that basically just pick apart podcasts and they just kind of critique them and talk shit about them. And every once in a while, I'll watch one of their videos, but this one caught my attention. And so he was talking about the podcast with Bert Kreischer and Tom Segura. I think it's called Two Bears in One Cave or something. And apparently, they made a whole podcast about which guys they would sleep with for some reason. These are two straight guys, and I'm sitting here thinking to myself, why? Why would they do that? I mean, are they that hard up for content? Like, I just don't even get it. Is it funny? Not really. Is it interesting? Not at all. I don't, you know? So I'm like, why? I guess yeah, they just needed content or something. And that that's the problem with being a content creator is the algorithm. It's you become this slave to the algorithm and it's a subconscious thing, but fortunately for me, I tend to there's not a whole lot of subconscious stuff going on in my mind because I'm very observant and I'm very sharp and I don't I'm so used to facing ugly truths that I call myself out on all kinds of shit. I catch myself, you know. That's why I realize that the algorithm is kind of prodding me, subconsciously to do things that I'm not gonna do. It had I not experienced the things I've experienced, I would be just subconsciously being prodded by the algorithm to do all these little YouTube tricks and do all this shit to get my traffic and money up. But really, it's there's other ways to get the traffic and money up to where you can control it yourself. You don't just subconsciously get pushed around by the algorithm. I do what I do. If it, whoever's meant to see it is going to see it. I don't answer to the algorithm. I answer to God. You know what I mean? So, um, but the only reason I even really think that way is because you got to realize that the hair growing out of my neck. So, you know, uh, early on in life, I realized that uh, I am subconsciously being prodded into doing all kinds of things I don't want to do. And I guess the point of this video is to help people bring that subconscious to the conscious mind, so you're not just being kind of directed around to do things that you don't even really consciously consent to. So, um, you, so for me, it was the cracks really started to show for me when I was on a job. I think I mentioned it in the last video. I was working for this company that would hire skilled laborers and send them out on jobs. As long as you got tools in the truck, they'll send you out on jobs, and it pays a lot better than regular labor work. So I'm out on this job removing this concrete set of stairs. I got to jackhammer it down into little rocks and then put the rocks in a trailer. The back breaking work. I don't have a problem with hard labor, but this was a different level of hard labor to where I felt like this is not a workout. This is doing damage. Like if I do this type of work for years, I'm gonna do damage to my body. You know what I mean? And so I'm sitting there thinking to myself, like, why do I put myself through this shit? It's the summer in Florida, in St. Petersburg, Florida, It's like 100 degrees out. I'm running a jackhammer, which weighs more than I do at the time, and I was just like, holy shit. I mean, the sweat pouring off of me, and it was just a nightmare of a job. And this set of concrete stairs had been sitting there for like 100 years. St. Petersburg is old. There's some old structures in St. Pete. So I'm sitting there doing this backbreaking work, and I'm thinking to myself, why? why? Why am I doing this? Uh, and I couldn't really come up with a logical conclusion other than I'm afraid to be homeless, And how I got onto doing just hard labor for a living is because I used to have this like telemarketing job where I'm trying to sell gas over the phone. It's like sometimes you're saving the people money, sometimes you're not. When I was actually saving the people money, I'd sell the shit out of those programs, making a couple of $100s a day. That's an easy sale for me. I'm doing you a favor, bro. If you don't want it, I'll call the next motherfucker. I didn't even it sold itself. You know what I mean? I'd be like, give me 5 minutes, go grab your gas bill. I'll show you. I'm about to save you like $80. You know what I mean? So, but it, once you start killing it on those programs, they would like try to put me on other ones where I'm not saving the people money, where I'm actually going to cost them a little bit of money. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I can't tell them I'm going to save the money and then not save the money. You know what I mean? So my bosses would be like, well, you were getting a lot of sales on the other program. Why can't you do it now? I'm like, because I'm not saving the money now. They're like, well, just act like you are or whatever. They weren't just coming right out and saying that, but I forget the exact language they were using, but basically they were trying to talk me into screwing people out of their money. It's not that I was screwing them out of a lot of money, like, but nonetheless, in my opinion, stealing is stealing. And if I'm gonna be a crook, why would I dress it up as this white collar job? Why don't I just go be a crook? You know what I mean? If I'm gonna be a monkey, I'm gonna be a gorilla. You know what I mean? So I was like, it, that's how I ended up just doing like labor jobs for a living. I was like, it's an honest living. I can be at peace with myself by doing this. So, but then after doing that for a while, I realized another thing that started happening was I would see these older guys out on the jobs who could like they could even really stand up straight, and um, they just looked really unhealthy. Like they've been inhaling all kinds of drywall dust and whatever else their whole lives. And these are guys, they're older guys. I was like 20 something at the time, and I'm seeing these older guys completely broken down and looking like they're on the verge of death. And they're being paid the same I'm being paid. And they've been in this industry for 20, 30 years. So I'm looking at them, and the ugly truth reared its head. Like, you could end up like that, making the same shit money, doing the same shit work, and getting nothing in return for it except a broken, diseased body, you know? Um, and one of the nails in the coffin for me, I was talking to this older laborer guy. I get along with these people. They're all like nice, cool people. They've been screwed over in life. And so I was talking to him, and he was like, the job I was doing we were building a Coles, and I had the most annoying part of the job. It's a long story. But it was frustrating me. I was complaining, and he was saying, he was like, he was like, nah, the worst job I've ever been on. He said it was at some like fast food place or something, and they had some sort of like grease pit outside where like years and years of like french fry and burger grease and shit has been dumped into this pit. Apparently it's like a sewer. And so his job was to go in there and like clean it out, I guess. something like that. He was in this pit of disgusting shit for like days. And so he was saying like the smell was so bad that after a couple of days he couldn't even smell it anymore. And he said to this day his sense of smell never really fully came back. And once I heard that, I was thinking to myself like this guy did permanent damage to his sense of smell for minimum wage, basically, or maybe a little above it. Either way, is it worth it? You know. And on top of that, the guy just looked unhealthy. He looked like his body was physically destroyed. And I was like, I don't want to end up like that. And I was thinking to myself, once again, why? Why do I do this? And the answer is so I can pay my bills. And so that's when I really started thinking to myself, is it worth it? You know, maybe I should start coming up with some alternate way of living than to just destroy myself and give all my money away to pay rent and bills and bullshit. You know what I mean? So that's how I ended up on the street in a nutshell. Really, it's a lot more complicated than that. Watch my other videos if you want to hear the details. But so, um, what you got to realize that a lot of us out here are doing a whole lot of stuff because we have this subconscious fear of homelessness and poverty. Really, so another example is look at rappers. If a rapper wants to succeed nowadays, they pretty much have to kill people on the street. They have to be involved in a gang war. That's what sells. This is what the record companies promote. Really. Um, have you guys ever heard of a rapper called K Flock? He's from the Bronx. He's one of the latest rappers to like blow up out of New York City. This was a couple of years ago, but um, as far as I can tell, he's the biggest one recently. And so what he was doing, he was in some sort of gang war in the Bronx, and he would go live on Instagram and YouTube and film himself going to the ops neighborhood, the opposite gang's neighborhood, and like talking shit out the window or whatever. And it got him famous, really. Next thing you know, he gets like a record contract. Now, people were getting killed on both sides, um, and he gets a record deal, a couple $1 million, I guess. And then within a couple of months of him getting this record deal, he's walking up the street in Harlem, and he's rich now. He's got millions of dollars. And I think he had his sister and maybe his sister's friend with him. They're walking up the street in Harlem. They walk past a barber shop, and apparently one of the ops was in the barber shop, and they're eyeballing each other. And the kid comes outside talking shit to K Flock. K Flock got his sister with him. You know what I mean? So apparently they both pulled guns. K Flock got off first, shot the kid like 6 times or something, killed him. Now K Flock is in jail, probably for the rest of his life, over um, basically because of the algorithm. You know what I mean? He had an image to maintain, and it's a shame. They should have just threw hands and scrapped real quick, a little 5 minute fight, and both walk away from it. What ended up happening was apparently the kid had a gun. K Flock pulled out his gun and he killed the kid. Now the kid's dead and he's in jail probably for the rest of his life. And he had just become like a millionaire. I mean, the algorithm. You know what I mean? So, um, another example. Look at Takashi 69. Look at the things he was doing to please the algorithm. Basically, he was hanging out with a bunch of actual gangsters, and this is because he's a rapper. He's got to have the rep as being real. I don't think the kid's ever been like an actual gangster, but he's hanging out with some real gangsters who do real things. Next thing you know, he's involved in shootings and this and that. I, who knows? I don't know. But next thing you know, the there's a RICO case going on. He's involved in it. A RICO case is basically when they arrest like an entire gang, a criminal organization, and anyone who is connected to it in any way, shape, or form. And he got brought down with the RICO case and snitched on everyone. Instead of doing like 50 years or whatever because they were involved. It like there was murders, there was all kinds of shit. Mm. And so there's another example of the insanity that people do because of the algorithm. And really, what it comes down to is a fear of poverty and homelessness. So, um, I guess the point of this video is yeah, look closely at what you're doing and why you're doing it, and try not to just be this robot that's being prodded and pushed in directions that it doesn't want to go because of subconscious fears. You know what I mean? So, um, and I feel it myself. The algorithm wants me to do things that I don't really want to do. Nothing too big, nothing too bad, but yeah, there's plenty of dishonest, shitty little things I could be doing that would please the algorithm, but would not please me. So I don't do them. At the end of the day, I got to live with me. You know what I mean? And my inner peace is more important to me than pretty much anything else. You know, even if I had $10 million, I wouldn't even know what to do with it. You know, I'd be life wouldn't even be that different. I don't think. I've had lots of money before, and I've turned down high-paying jobs because at that point in my life, I had already realized that money is not the answer. It's not the answer. I don't even know how else to describe it, but I can tell you one thing. A lot of these guys selling all these programs on the internet and shit, and do this real estate program, or Andrew Tate's got the whole whatever the program. What's that called? What he does? He sells some monthly thing. I forget what it's called, but they know that it's not the answer. Just having a bunch of money. It's like it's not even that different than having a normal amount of money, except things are just a little nicer. It doesn't even matter. You know what I mean? Um, like inner peace is it's priceless. You can't put a price on it. I wouldn't trade my inner peace for all the money in the world. Um, and Okay, so let me add this into my video. Now, I'm saying money is not the answer, but I'm not saying what is the answer. Now, I can only speak for myself. What brings me peace, basically, is I try to serve whatever purpose I'm here to serve. That brings me peace. So, I feel like there's like a fog on my screen. I ain't got nothing to wipe it with, but whatever. Anyways, this couple minutes I'm adding to the video. So, what is the answer now? Um, I have. If you can really dig deep into your own feelings, you you can listen to your conscience, which in our modern societies, our conscience gets buried under all this other bullshit. But if you try hard enough, you can find it. Your your conscience is going to tell you what to do. So, an example is I was offered a very good, high-paying, easy job to get me off the street, and I took it for a couple of days, and I realized this is gonna I'm gonna end up back on heroin because it's an easy job. It pays a lot, but it's very boring. I'm gonna sit here doing heroin all day, getting paid a lot of money to do it, but that's not why God put me here. So, it would have worked out great for me for a couple of months until I either OD'd or I don't want to live my life on heroin. You know what I mean? So um, I decided to quit the job within like a month of having which logically would not make sense to anyone, but it made sense to me because I don't answer to people, I don't answer to dollars, I answer to God, and um, it was not the other deep down I knew it wasn't going to get me where I want to be. You know what I mean? So I just knew deep down, when you're on the right track, you're gonna know your conscience is gonna you're gonna feel right. I don't know how else to explain it. So the answer, money is not the answer. Drugs are not the answer. You know what I mean? The answer is you gotta follow your conscience and serve your purpose here. Everyone has a purpose. You came here for a reason. If you want details, go on my Patreon. I talk about the metaphysical stuff on Patreon, breaking through the matrix, all that. So, but the easiest way to describe it, without going through 5 hours of explanations, and you know, you got to listen to your heart, listen to your conscience. Even if it's telling you to do illogical things, you know what I mean. The risks are real, the suffering is real, but you know what? Nothing is easy anyway. You know what I mean? So the answer, it ain't money. It's to for me to feel inner peace, I've got to do what my conscience tells me to do. You know what I mean? And it's easier said than done. Don't get me wrong. Um, I I smoke weed again now, and my conscience is telling me not to. But I do enjoy it. You know what I'm saying? So, um, but I do feel deep down that in order for me to get to where I'm really trying to be, I'm gonna have to get fully sober, even though weed is pretty harmless. It I'll make a whole video about that or something. I don't even want to get into that subject, but yeah. So I didn't want to end the video just saying what is not the answer. I wanted to give some sort of answer, and maybe it's not the simplest answer to understand, but that's what brings me peace. I didn't want to be selling jokes for $1 a piece out on the street. I didn't enjoy doing it. I didn't like doing it. I wasn't making a lot of money doing it, but deep down it felt right. So you know what I'm saying? It, so I kept doing it, and it did get me to where I want to be. You know what I mean? So um, you got to learn to get in touch with your feelings and shit. You know what I'm saying? So I guess that's the end of this video. Uh, Let me add this on and see if it makes sense. So I appreciate every single one of you. Thanks for the subs, the likes, the tips, the comments. Thanks for the Patreons. I'm gonna go film the Patreon video now, and then uh, I'll write the description tomorrow and put it up tomorrow. So if you want a response to the comment, try to get it. If you want it, if you want me to respond to your comment, your best bet is to get it in there within the first 30. Um, but yeah, let me finish this up and put it together. And everybody have a good one. I'll see you on the next one.